Hello, welcome back to our channel. Have you ever noticed something strange? You can study English for years, memorize grammar rules, learn thousands of vocabulary words, and still freeze when it is time to speak. Your heart beats faster. Your mind goes blank. You try to translate every sentence from your native language into English, and suddenly, even simple words disappear. But then you meet someone who learned English naturally. They speak smoothly. They laugh, think, react, and dream in English. They are not translating. They are living inside the language. Tonight, this documentary will change the way you see English forever. This is not another classroom lesson. This is a journey into the real secret behind fluent English. The method is powerful, emotional, and deeply human. It is called the Thinking in English method. This documentary is designed for every learner. Whether you are a student in a small rural town, a busy city, or a local community trying to build a better future, this journey belongs to you. Each lesson connects to the next like chapters in a life-changing story. By the end, you will understand why fluent English is not about perfection. It is about transformation. Chapter 1, Lesson 1. The rain hit the roof of the small farmhouse while 16-year-old Daniel sat beside a weak yellow lamp. His English textbook was open in front of him, but his eyes looked tired. Outside the window, tractors moved slowly through muddy fields. Inside the house, silence filled the room. Daniel whispered English sentences again and again, trying to sound American. "My name is Daniel." He repeated the sentence 10 times. Then he stopped. Why did it still feel unnatural? Why did every English sentence sound like a translation instead of a real thought? That night, Daniel discovered something that changed his life forever. He realized he was not learning English. He was chasing words. Real English was not hidden inside grammar books. It was hidden inside the brain. This lesson begins with one truth. Fluent English starts when your mind stops translating. Most learners believe fluency comes from speaking faster. But native speakers are not fast because they study speed. They are fast because English thoughts appear naturally in their minds. When an American sees rain, they do not translate the word rain. They instantly feel it. They connect emotion, memory, and meaning together in one moment. That is the difference. If you want to sound natural, you must train your brain to connect English directly to life. Daniel did not understand this yet, but his journey had already begun. Lesson 2. The next morning, Daniel walked across a long dirt road toward school. His backpack felt heavy, but his thoughts felt even heavier. In class, the teacher asked students to introduce themselves in English. One by one, students stood up. "My hobby is football. I like music. My favorite food is pizza." The room sounded robotic, like everyone memorized the same machine script. Then Daniel noticed one student named Sophia. She smiled naturally while speaking. "I love rainy mornings because they make me feel calm," she said. The classroom became quiet. Her English felt alive. Daniel suddenly understood something important. Native English is emotional. It is not just information. English learners often focus on perfect grammar, but Americans focus on connection. They speak through feelings, stories, reactions, and energy. After class, Daniel asked Sophia how she sounded so natural. She gave him a surprising answer. "I stopped memorizing English," she said. "I started living in English." That sentence stayed in Daniel's mind all day. Living in English, not studying English, not surviving in English, living in English. That night, Daniel tried something different. Instead of translating his thoughts, he looked at the moon outside his window and said quietly, "The moon looks peaceful tonight." For the first time, the sentence felt real. Lesson 3. The human brain loves survival. That is why your native language feels automatic. Since childhood, your brain connected sounds to emotions, danger, happiness, family, and memories. Language became part of life itself. But most English learners build English like a school subject instead of a living experience. Daniel finally understood this while helping his father repair an old tractor. His father barely spoke English, yet he said one sentence that changed everything. When you fix a machine, you stop reading instructions after a while. Your hands just know. Daniel froze. That was exactly the problem. His English brain never had enough natural repetition to just know. Every sentence still felt like solving a math equation. So Daniel created a new habit. He stopped translating simple daily actions. When he drank water, he thought, "This water is cold." When he walked outside, he thought, "The wind feels strong today." When he felt tired, he said, "I need rest." These small thoughts looked simple, but something powerful was happening. His brain slowly started connecting English directly to reality. This is how native fluency begins. Not with giant speeches, not with impossible vocabulary lists, but with small, real thoughts repeated every day. Lesson 4. Weeks passed, and Daniel noticed a strange change. English no longer felt completely foreign. Some thoughts appeared automatically. One afternoon, while watching cars pass through town, he suddenly thought, "That truck is moving too fast." He smiled. He did not translate the sentence. It simply appeared. That tiny moment was bigger than he realized. Fluency grows quietly before it becomes visible. Many learners quit too early because they expect dramatic improvement overnight. But language growth is like sunrise. Darkness disappears slowly. Daniel still made mistakes. He still forgot words. But now he understood something important. Mistakes are proof that your brain is experimenting. Children become fluent because they are fearless explorers. Adults often become trapped by embarrassment. So Daniel made another decision. He would stop fearing mistakes. That evening, he recorded himself speaking English for 10 minutes about his daily life. His grammar was imperfect. His pronunciation sounded rough. But for the first time, his voice carried emotion. And emotion creates memory. Lesson 5. The town library became Daniel's secret training ground. Every afternoon, he sat beside old wooden shelves, listening to American interviews, podcasts, and documentaries. But instead of focusing on every unknown word, he focused on rhythm. Native English sounded like music. Some sentences flowed softly, others exploded with excitement. Americans stretched emotions through tone. That's amazing. No way. I can't believe this. Daniel realized fluency was not only vocabulary, it was emotional movement. One librarian noticed him practicing every day. "You really want this, don't you?" she asked. Daniel nodded. She smiled warmly. "Then stop trying to sound perfect. Try to sound real." Those words changed his mindset forever. Real communication is not performance. It is connection. Lesson 6. Winter arrived. Cold winds swept through the fields outside Daniel's home. One evening, the electricity suddenly disappeared during a storm. Darkness filled the house. Daniel sat near the fireplace, listening to rain crash against the roof. Without distractions, his thoughts became louder. He realized something painful. For years, he believed English fluency belonged only to rich students, city students, or naturally talented people. But language is not reserved for special people. The human brain was designed to learn through repetition, emotion, and survival. Every fluent speaker once sounded broken. Every confident voice once trembled. Every natural conversation once felt impossible. That realization gave Daniel strength. He closed his eyes and imagined his future self speaking confidently with people around the world. For the first time, fluency felt possible. Lesson 7. The thinking in English method is not magic. It is neuroscience mixed with daily emotional experience. When you think directly in English, your brain creates faster neural pathways. Translation slowly disappears because English becomes connected to images, actions, and feelings instead of your first language. Daniel tested this idea in a simple way. Instead of translating apple into his native language, he looked directly at an apple. Red, sweet, round, fresh, his brain connected English directly to reality. This technique changed everything. Soon he described roads, weather, faces, and emotions in English throughout the day. His brain was no longer visiting English. It was building a home inside English. Lesson 8. At school, Daniel noticed many students still feared speaking. Whenever the teacher asked questions, silence filled the room. Fear is one of the biggest enemies of language learning. Fear tells you, you are too old. You sound foolish. People will laugh. But confidence is not something you wait for. Confidence grows through action. One afternoon, Daniel stood in front of class and spoke for 2 minutes about storms in his hometown. His hands shook, his voice cracked, but he continued. And something surprising happened. Nobody laughed. Instead, students listened carefully because his story felt honest. That moment taught him a powerful truth. People remember emotion more than perfection. Lesson 9. Language carries culture. As Daniel listened to American conversations, he discovered hidden layers beyond vocabulary. Americans often use encouragement naturally. You got this. I'm proud of you. That sounds awesome. These phrases create warmth. English becomes powerful when you understand emotional meaning, not just dictionary meaning. Daniel began copying natural reactions. Instead of saying only good, he practiced, "That's incredible. That made my day. I really appreciate that." His conversations suddenly sounded more human. This is why native fluency feels alive. It is emotional communication. Lesson 10. One night, Daniel almost quit. He listened to a fast American podcast and understood almost nothing. Frustration burned inside him. Maybe he was not talented enough. Maybe fluency was impossible. Then he remembered something important. Babies hear thousands of confusing sounds before understanding language. Confusion is not failure. Confusion is growth happening in silence. So instead of quitting, Daniel replayed the podcast again, and again, and again. Slowly, familiar phrases appeared. His ears started adapting. This is how listening transforms the brain, not through instant understanding, but through patient exposure. Chapter 2. Lesson 11. Months passed, and Daniel developed a strange habit. He talked to himself while walking through town. This bakery smells amazing. That dog looks excited. The sky is turning orange. At first, it felt awkward. Later, it felt natural. Self-talk is one of the most powerful tools for fluency because it removes pressure. Your brain practices without fear. Native speakers think continuously. Fluent learners must do the same. Daniel's inner voice slowly transformed into English. And when your inner voice changes, your identity begins changing too. Lesson 12. A new student named Marcus arrived from another city. Marcus spoke English confidently, but he revealed a secret. "I used to translate everything too," he admitted. Daniel looked shocked. Marcus laughed. "Fluency started when I stopped obsessing over grammar every second." Grammar matters, but communication matters more. Many learners wait for perfect grammar before speaking. That is like waiting to become perfect before living life. You improve by speaking imperfectly. Marcus challenged Daniel to speak only English during lunch breaks. At first, conversations felt slow, but each day became easier. Why? Because the brain adapts through necessity. Lesson 13. One cold afternoon, Daniel visited his grandfather. His grandfather never learned English, but he understood hard work. "You know why rivers become strong?" his grandfather asked. Daniel shook his head. "Because they keep moving." Those words became Daniel's motivation. Language fluency is not built through motivation alone. It is built through consistency. 10 minutes daily beats 5 hours once a month. Small habits shape identity. That evening, Daniel promised himself one thing. No matter how tired he felt, he would think in English every day. Lesson 14. The brain learns fastest through emotion. That is why songs stay in memory longer than random facts. Daniel began watching emotional English stories instead of boring textbook conversations. He laughed, he cried, he felt connected, and suddenly vocabulary became unforgettable. When language touches emotion, memory becomes deeper. This is why storytelling is essential for fluency. You are not memorizing words. You are experiencing life through English. Lesson 15. One Saturday, Daniel traveled to a nearby city. The noise overwhelmed him. Cars honked, people moved quickly. English signs cover buildings everywhere. For the first time, he forced himself to think entirely in English during the trip. At first, his brain felt exhausted. But after several hours, something incredible happened. English thoughts started arriving automatically. Not perfectly, but naturally. Immersion changes the brain because survival demands adaptation. You do not need another country to immerse yourself. You can immerse yourself through daily habits, audio, stories, thoughts, and conversations. Lesson 16. Late that night, Daniel wrote a sentence in his notebook. Fluency is not becoming someone else. It is becoming a bigger version of yourself. That sentence mattered deeply. Many learners fear losing their identity while learning English. But English does not erase who you are. It expands your world. It allows your dreams, ideas, humor, and emotions to travel farther. Language is not a replacement for identity. It is a bridge. Lesson 17. Daniel discovered another secret. Native speakers repeat phrases constantly. "How's it going?" "I'm just kidding." That makes sense. "I'm running late." Fluency grows through chunks, not isolated vocabulary. The brain loves patterns. So Daniel stopped memorizing endless single words. Instead, he learned complete phrases. Soon, conversations became smoother because his brain could retrieve entire expressions instantly. Lesson 18. One evening, Daniel listened to his old recordings. He almost could not believe the difference. Months earlier, his voice sounded nervous and mechanical. Now, it sounded warmer, more alive. Improvement often feels invisible while it is happening. That is why recording yourself matters. Growth hides inside repetition. Lesson 19. During spring, Daniel volunteered at a community event where tourists visited nearby farms. A family from America arrived unexpectedly. Daniel felt panic rising. This was real. No subtitles, no pauses, no classroom. The father smiled warmly. "Beautiful place you have here." Daniel swallowed nervously. Then he answered, "Thank you. The sunsets here are amazing." The conversation continued, slowly, imperfectly, but naturally. After the family left, Daniel realized something emotional. English was no longer trapped inside books. It had become part of real life. Lesson 20. That night, Daniel stood outside under a sky full of stars. He remembered the boy who once believed fluency was impossible. Now, he understood the truth. Fluency is not one giant breakthrough. It is thousands of tiny victories collected quietly over time. Every thought, every sentence, every moment of courage. Together, they build a new mind. Chapter 3. Lesson 21. Summer arrived with golden sunlight stretching across the fields. Daniel spent mornings helping his family and evenings practicing English beside the river. One day, he noticed something surprising. He was no longer forcing every thought. English appeared naturally during emotional moments. When he felt excited, English arrived. When he felt nervous, English arrived. That was the turning point. Real fluency begins when language connects to emotion automatically. Daniel remembered his early days of translating every sentence. Back then, English felt like carrying heavy stones uphill. Now it felt lighter, not easy, but alive. The thinking in English method was reshaping his brain quietly every day. Lesson 22. A powerful truth changed Daniel forever. Most learners treat English as an exam. Native speakers treat English as life. This difference changes everything. During dinner, Daniel started describing stories from his day in English inside his mind. He imagined explaining them to a friend. The river looked beautiful today. I saw an old truck break down. A little kid was laughing near the market. This mental storytelling strengthened fluency naturally. The brain remembers stories better than isolated facts because stories carry emotion, movement, and meaning. Lesson 23. One afternoon, Daniel became frustrated again. He forgot simple words during conversation practice. Anger filled his chest. But Marcus reminded him of something important. Even native speakers forget words sometimes. That sentence removed enormous pressure. Fluency does not mean speaking perfectly forever. It means communicating naturally, despite mistakes. Perfection is not the goal. Connection is. Lesson 24. Daniel discovered shadowing. He listened to short American audio clips and repeated them immediately with the same rhythm and emotion. At first, his pronunciation felt uncomfortable, but slowly, his mouth adapted. Pronunciation is physical. Your muscles must train like athletes. Soon, Daniel noticed smoother sounds. His speech rhythm improved. Most importantly, his confidence grew. Lesson 25. Late one evening, Daniel sat beside her mother while she prepared dinner. "You seem happier lately," she said. Daniel smiled. "I think English stopped feeling scary." Fear disappears when familiarity grows. The more English surrounds your life, the less foreign it feels. That is why consistency matters more than intensity. Small daily exposure rewires the brain. Lesson 26. Daniel began reading simple English novels aloud. Not difficult books, not advanced academic material, simple emotional stories. This helped him connect pronunciation, rhythm, emotion, and vocabulary together. Many learners choose material that is too difficult because they want fast progress. But confidence grows faster when input feels understandable. Fluency is built step by step. Lesson 27. One rainy afternoon, Daniel asked himself a painful question. Why do so many people quit learning English? The answer appeared slowly. Because they think fluency should happen quickly. But language learning is identity transformation. And transformation takes time. The caterpillar does not become a butterfly overnight. Neither does the learner become fluent instantly. Lesson 28. Marcus introduced Daniel to another powerful habit. Thinking emotionally in English. Instead of only describing objects, Daniel described feelings. I feel nervous. I feel grateful. I feel hopeful. Emotional vocabulary creates deeper communication. Native fluency is emotional fluency. Lesson 29. As weeks passed, Daniel stopped fearing silence during conversations. Earlier, silence terrified him because he felt pressure to respond perfectly. Now he understood something important. Even native speakers pause. Confidence is not speaking nonstop. Confidence is staying calm while thinking. Lesson 30. One evening, Daniel watched the sunset while listening to American storytelling podcasts. The narrator said something unforgettable. The language you speak shapes the world you can enter. Daniel stared at the horizon quietly. English was no longer only about jobs or exams. It was about freedom. Freedom to connect. Freedom to understand. Freedom to dream bigger. Chapter 4. Lesson 31. Autumn returned, and Daniel realized a full year had nearly passed since he began thinking in English seriously. His transformation was not only linguistic. His confidence, mindset, and identity had changed too. The thinking in English method was not simply teaching him vocabulary. It was teaching him courage. Lesson 32. Daniel visited the town library again. The librarian smiled warmly. You sound different now, she said. Daniel laughed. Different good or different bad? Different alive, she answered. That sentence stayed with him. Language becomes powerful when your personality enters it. Lesson 33. Many learners hide behind short answers. Yes. No. Maybe. But native conversations grow through expansion. Daniel practiced extending every thought. Instead of saying, the weather is nice, he practiced, the weather feels amazing today because the wind is cool and the sky is clear. Longer thoughts train faster thinking. Lesson 34. One day, Daniel met a younger student struggling with English. The boy looked defeated. I'll never sound fluent, he whispered. Daniel recognized that pain immediately because he once believed the same thing. So he shared the truth. Fluent people are not special. They just refuse to stop. Hope returned to the boy's eyes. Sometimes one sentence changes a life. Lesson 35. Daniel realized listening was still his greatest teacher. Children become fluent because they listen constantly before speaking confidently. So he increased daily listening. Not passive listening, active listening. He noticed rhythm, emotion, stress patterns, natural pauses. Slowly, his brain adapted to natural American speech. Lesson 36. One night, Daniel dreamed in English for the first time. The experience shocked him. It lasted only a few moments, but it felt symbolic. His subconscious mind was changing. That is the true power of immersion. English slowly enters your automatic thinking patterns. Lesson 37. Marcus eventually moved away. Before leaving, he gave Daniel one final piece of advice. Never stop being curious. Curiosity keeps language alive. When learners lose curiosity, English becomes mechanical. But curiosity transforms learning into adventure. Lesson 38. Daniel began helping other students practice English conversations. Teaching strengthened his own fluency. Why? Because explaining ideas forces deeper understanding. He encouraged nervous learners constantly. Do not fear mistakes. Speak before you feel ready. Use English daily. Trust the process. Lesson 39. The town organized a cultural exchange event. People from different countries attended. Daniel spoke English for hours. Not perfectly, but confidently. He laughed, shared stories, asked questions, connected naturally. For the first time, English felt less like a skill and more like part of his identity. Lesson 40. Late that night, Daniel sat alone outside. The same stars shined above him like the night his journey began. But he was no longer the same person. The boy who feared English had transformed into someone stronger. Not because he became perfect, but because